Good afternoon and good evening, and hello to everybody watching this Mission Transition episode 5. I hope you're all well. And today I've got something a little bit different, but a very, very happy friend of mine. Her name's Lauren Hamilton, and she's the founder and owner and general manager of Ride Skipper. So we're going to have a nice, good old chat now. So welcome, Lauren. Thank you
Thank
for
you. Thanks
coming.
for having me.
How are you? You okay?
Really good, thank you. Yeah, getting a bit bigger.
You are.
I'm not just large, I'm pregnant, but yeah, really good.
Well, we've had to squeeze you in here because obviously you're very, very close to,
D-Day.
how many children now will this be?
This is the second one.
Second one, due next month, yeah?
Yeah, couple of weeks, yeah.
Hence why we moved this to the left a little bit to try and squeeze you in because,
I've pushed in the key.
bless you. So thank you for coming on first of all. Listen, it's great. I mean, a lot of people may know who you are already. Okay, obviously I know you on a personal level, and through many friends and that, and now, so it was a pleasure to have you on here. I thought it's really good for yourself, and I think it's good for people that's in Dubai and in the UAE to know a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what you provide as well. So if we can start off, let's talk about how you was in the UK, first of all, before you moved over here. How many years ago was that? So yeah.
Yeah, so been here 8 years. We came for 2, which I feel like every Brit says when they leave. My husband and I were sat on the sofa in Reading,
Yeah.
which is a not particularly glamorous part of like Berkshire, West London area. Um, hammering down with rain, Sunday afternoon, cup of tea and a blanket, going, is this it until we retire? Not yet ready for kids, kind of late 20s, felt like we needed a bit of an adventure. I always laugh because I wanted to move to Germany and he wanted to move to the US, and we ended up in Dubai because both of us hard knowed the other's preference. We said, what about Dubai? And him being a finance guy and the tax implications of moving to Dubai, that's kind of how we cinched the deal. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So why was you wanting to go to Germany and your husband wanted to go to the US? What was it?
I was working for a hotel chain who I then moved out here with anyway. And I was working on the German market, so it was kind of a logical transition. And then he wanted to go to the US. I'm not really sure why. And I couldn't relate to it. So I was just like, no, I don't want to go. So yeah, that was his idea, that he wanted to move to Chicago. And I thought, no, it's cold and
Wow.
crime and all that. And
Brilliant. So how long was it when you made a decision to then when you actually executed it to move over
I
here?
think a lot of people have had this kind of challenge when they move. So we made the decision that we'd like to look at it. I was working for, as I say, a hotel chain, and it was a big global business. So you had the option to say, I'm open to this, I'm open to that. And then obviously if an opening came up, you could go. Um, and those discussions started happening, and I had a really supportive manager in the UK. But there was a lull between, I came over for an interview, everything looked really good. It took them probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 months to send the contract. So we didn't think it was happening. And then they sent the contract on a Wednesday and said, do you start on Monday? And we were like, hang on a minute.
Brilliant.
So I moved over, and then my husband joined me 6 months later.
Okay.
So he kind of tied up loose end from the UK. I got us settled here, and then he moved over and joined me a few months later.
So was it 6 months because that was like, it's permanent, this is the right move, right, come across, and then or was it just kind of,
I think it was the opposite. I'd got a job because I was transitioning at the same company, and he worked for a business that didn't have a presence here.
okay.
So we were like, actually, let's not both set fire to our
Whiskey
whole
for a
careers.
biscuit.
Let's wait. So I moved first. We thought, we'll see how I get on,
Yeah.
past the probation or whatever, and then he'll make the move. But he was back and forth quite a lot, which I think really helped. And the role that I was doing was a pre-opening of a hotel.
Yeah.
So it was pretty full on. When I got here, it was shell and core, and then we went through the whole opening process. So it was quite intense. So I think if he had been here, he would have been kind of twiddling his thumbs at home, kind of waiting for me to get back. So he was still finishing up a project at home, and it worked quite well.
So did you both come and do a recce, so to speak, before, or was it just like, right, I've got this job, I'm off? Did you both go over and witness it together first of all before you made a decision, or?
Yeah, we'd had a chat about it, and then we came here on holiday and really liked it. And then he kind of did the financial research side of it and determined whether it made sense or not. Meanwhile, I was kind of putting the feelers out at work to say, I'm interested in coming to this part of the world, what's available and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a huge event in the hotel industry that happens here each year. So my boss at the time sent me here and said, go and check it out. It'll be a good way of kind of networking and seeing what's available. Um, and then, the new opening came up and they said, do you want to do it? And I thought,
Why not? Why not, eh?
yeah, exactly.
So you've moved over to here. You've done the 6 months. You're permanent. You're happy. Your husband's come over, and then what happens next?
Well, actually, there was some bumps in the road. So the first 6 months, I hated it.
You really, yeah.
Hated every second of it. And he kept saying, I didn't enjoy. I think it was too much change at once. So obviously he wasn't with me. I'd moved from a very corporate, very like big business role to quite exposed in a smaller environment where the business culture was very different. I think I hadn't maybe prepared myself for that accordingly. And things were just done very differently, handled very differently. And he kept saying to me, it's not Dubai you hate, you're just struggling with your role. And I'm like, no. And I kept saying to him, you hear people move and relocate because they're running away from something. And in our case, it was nothing really more than boredom that sent us on this adventure. And I kept saying to him, we could just go back to our old lives and pretend this never happened. You're not even here yet. Let's just make out I didn't just disappear to the Middle East. And he would say, no, come on, like be a bit of a slap. But we'd have our Zoom calls and stuff. But it was great. I'm grateful to him that he did because I love it now. And, our son was born here and I can't imagine living anywhere else really. So
Yeah, I think a lot.
obviously you get him out of here in a box.
That's it.
So yeah, we're lifeless. I
So
think.
you've done the move then, obviously, and how many years was it until tell people what you actually do now, and because this is amazing, this is what you've got.
So was in the hotel industry here for the first 5-6 years. COVID hit. That was a rough time to be in the hotel industry, as you can imagine. And then I was contracting for a UK business when I had my son, and that was fine. That was kind of project based. That was okay. That was sort of a sales consulting role, nothing that exciting, but paid the bills. And then had my son, had a C-section, so I wasn't supposed to be driving, and really wanted to get out and about with him, but also knowing that I was going to go back to work quite quickly. And our nanny doesn't drive. So it was twofold. It was, I want to go out with him and I'm not allowed to drive. And I want her to be able to take him to classes, whatever you do with a baby, didn't know, but let's sign him up for some stuff. And just felt that everything I tried, whether it was car seats, taxis with car seats, or whether it was a driver for our own car, was really lacking. So in some cases, it would just be a bit underwhelming. Maybe the hygiene, the English, there'd be kind of teething problems, right through to feeling unsafe in the car in a lot of cases. The quality of driving, the standard of driving, too close to the car in front, always in a rush, slamming the brakes on. And all of that is really heightened when you've just had a baby. So I think there's a big difference between, if I've been to brunch with my friends and we've had a few glasses of rosé, Dubai is a very safe place. You pretty much get in the car with whichever driver comes and you don't think too much of it. And I think we're so lucky that where we live is so safe. I certainly wouldn't do that in the UK. But when you have a baby and you are stone cold sober, fresh from surgery with a newborn, your level of anxiety is completely unlike anything else. So to get in the car with my son and constantly be faced with this idea of, I'm not in a rush, but the driver is. Why is he in a rush? Why is everyone rushing? And I'd say to him, I'm not in a rush. Can you slow down? Can you leave a bit more space? I mean, it was just a really unpleasant experience. And I thought, I wonder why it's like this. There must be a reason that whichever company I book, or whether it's a taxi or a driver for my car, I'm having this problem every time. And I would get chatting to the drivers then and say to them, why are you in a rush? I've just told you I've got, if it takes us an hour to get to the mall, no problem. Well, ma'am, I'm on commission. I need to drive 10 customers today. Got 3 kids back home, etc., etc. So my husband is in finance, as I mentioned, and I would keep telling him over and over again every time I had one of these experiences, and he'd say, "Well, I wonder why they're all on commission. Maybe it's just not commercially viable to have drivers on fixed salaries in this kind of business, in this kind of industry." And so they all rely on this sort of gig economy model where you get paid only for the rides that you complete. So he obviously worked up a little spreadsheet, which we love. Yeah, I tease him for it, but it's a very useful skill to have. And he worked up a financial model and said, I think it could still be done. I think we could still run a decent, profitable business, but pay people a salary, you know, provide them with a visa, provide them with medical, all of the should be minimum requirements here that perhaps aren't in all businesses here. Um, and still run a business that works. So go and do it.
And that was it.
And you can spend this much and this long, and then you need to get a job if it doesn't work out. So that was the conversation we had. Yeah, we registered the trade license, and here we are.
And it's like, I mean, some people still might be watching this, and I mean, we'll go into it a little bit more exactly what you provide. But like, when I go back to the UK and I'm sat in a taxi and I tell them about you and your business, they look at me and they go, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, like, for people that are watching this, many, many times when your guys, and I've said literally a few weeks ago, I was at a shop. I had the dogs with the 2 Labradors. And obviously we had a bit of flooding, didn't we? Because there's a lot of rain.
Yeah,
I was taking them to Petsville, which is in Al Quoz. There's
yeah,
a couple of them knocking around Dubai. Drove up there, flooded. No way getting in, no way getting out. If you're in there, you're stuck in there. And I was like, I need to get somewhere to a certain time. The other Petsville that they're booked in at is literally like probably another half an hour.
yeah.
So all I did, WhatsApp, I can. It's really lazy, but it worked. Like, can I book a driver for as soon as possible, please? Yeah, sure, no problem, Stuart. Send location. I sent the location. They came. They took my car. Okay, I gave them the keys. They drove my dogs to the Petsville on the other side of Dubai, so I could still make this location that I need to go to. Dropped them off and brought the car back to me, and all within an hour
Yeah, jobs are good.
at a very reasonable price. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is mad. So when I tell people about this in the UK, they look at me as if, "What you want about?" And
Yeah.
I say, "Well, I explain about how the insurance is over here and things like this. It's all above board and that."
Yeah.
But just so that people can understand,
Yeah.
and that, just go into, can you, if you don't mind, go into a bit more
Sure.
detail exactly what you provide, because it's just absolutely off the scale.
Yeah.
It really
So
is.
basically, anytime you don't want to or can't drive your own car,
Yeah.
we've got you covered. So everything we do is in the client's car. We don't provide the vehicles, we just provide the drivers. So whether that is a really common use case for us is school runs. So mum and dad both work, nanny's at home for the kids, nanny doesn't drive, kids go to school. We pick the car up from the mum's office. We go home and we pick up the nanny. We go to the school and we pick up the kids. We drop them back home. We take the car back to the mum. It's the ultimate convenience, but it's a service that people have come to rely on. So I think you're right. When I tell my friends back home, they go, "Well, why don't people just drive their own kids to school?" And you say, "No, you don't understand. No. Believe me, if you had this service available to you, you would use it." And I think people sometimes misunderstand, if they're not based here, that we have I would say more disposable income, but almost always less time. And so a model like this works in this market because it's actually exactly like you've just said. You cannot be late for that meeting, but you will pay for somebody to come and pick the dogs up and solve that problem for you. So it's kind of like a convenience cost. So yeah, school runs. A lot of the reason people use us instead of a taxi, because that's another question we get. Well, why would I not just put them in a taxi? Particularly when children are of car seat age. That's obviously not practical. Maybe you can book a taxi with a car seat in it. Maybe you can't. It's a little bit hit and miss. It might not be the right size for your kid or whatever it might be. So that's a lot of the reason people would use us for something like an airport run. Dogs are actually, in most cases, not allowed in a taxi in Dubai. So you have to book either a specific pet taxi or something like our service where the dog's going in your car. And then other than that, just, you were going to brunch and you'd planned to partake in dry January, and one thing led to another, and you didn't, and then you need to get yourself and your car home. So that's another use case that people have that they use.
That's what I think it's kind of like a normal reoccurring thing now. So normally every 2 weeks, I'll message on a Saturday or a Sunday, and they must go, yeah, he's down in the Dubai. He's in Dubai Hammers at the Nelson's Bar watching West Ham. Can you come and pick us up, please? So it is. It's a fantastic convenience thing. It's absolutely brilliant, and this is only the beginning, really, isn't it? Because you just provide this in Dubai at the moment, if that's right, but you spread into
Anything that starts or ends in Dubai will do. So if you need to go from Dubai to Iraq or Abu Dhabi or whatever, that's fine. And we've only been trading for about 18 months. So we started with WhatsApp and 6 drivers. Now we've got a mobile application and 32 drivers and counting. So yeah, the growth has been quite aggressive. And that's largely thanks to, we've seen a huge amount of word of mouth. People try the service, they like it, they see the difference, they tell all their friends, which is great. So yeah, the plan is to continue to scale it, really.
Could you even do kind of like big concerts as well? You've done it for, you saying earlier to me, Coldplay last year
Yeah.
went crazy.
Yeah, so the reason people use us for that versus just grabbing a cab from Dubai to Etihad Arena or whatever is um, the queues, the fact that they're not always sure exactly where they're going to be able to stop and park. So this whole idea of our driver is yours for the full period. So he picks you up from Dubai, whatever stops and drops you want to do on the way, drops you right outside the door to the concert, goes and parks your car at the mall, waits for you, and he's there waiting. You know, you drop him a text and say, we're ready to leave, and he's there waiting for you. So that, again, convenience, right? Versus standing an
It
hour in a
is.
taxi queue or whatever it might be.
And even the drivers are so nice, the people. They're really nice people, and you can hold a nice conversation. They're very open to having
Yeah.
a chat. I know that me and Richard, Dina's husband, has many times tried to get them to sing karaoke in the car while we're sitting there.
I don't know whether they draw the line. That's not part
No,
of the job.
they
So
do.
I join in.
They stay professional, to be fair.
Good.
And I'm like, come on, let's have a sing song, come on. And they're like, they just look at me as they say, I just drive the
Okay,
car.
so-
So they do stay very professional, you know. And I think, like you say, you do a lot of screening with the drivers. They do
We do.
a number of tests to make sure that they're at that, you know, required standard, a good standard, and educated in regards of how, I mean, everybody's got different ways of, they think they know how to drive over here. Well, that's why it's probably just crazy. I think there's like 30 odd different nationalities that all good driving, you know,
Yeah,
they think
in
they know the
different
best.
ways.
But you do really hardcore, like sort of like in-depth sort of like training that before you release them, but so to speak, to
Yeah.
the public to be able to drive them around. That's correct, yeah.
We're really militant about that, to be
Yeah.
honest. So my litmus test is always, if I wouldn't put my son in the car with this person, then how can I sell the service to my customers, right? So we do recruitment days where we do a rigorous round of screening. The things that we're always looking for are a level of English that means they can have a conversation with our customers, because that can sometimes be a cause of friction or frustration. You know, why he's gone the wrong way because he didn't understand quite what I meant about this exit or whatever, especially when it comes to your children. If you're not in the car and you need to know, he knows exactly where he's going. He could communicate with you, God forbid, if there was a problem. You know, that's absolutely paramount. No one's going to feel that comfortable putting their kid in a car with a driver who's not able to communicate with them. And then sort of personal hygiene and grooming is really important to us, especially because we're in the customer's car. So, you know, that they should be leaving a positive impression and not an odor. That's very important. But obviously the safety is paramount. So we do 4 driving tests with each driver. And we have quite a flat management structure. So whether it's me testing them or one of our team leaders, if anyone sees anything that makes them feel uncomfortable or is a red flag, the person just doesn't get the job. It's not that my view trumps someone else's view or anything like that. So we have a very objective way of testing them. You know, do they indicate when they change lane? Are they far enough away from the car in front? So it's not, do I like his driving? But it's, you know, objectively, is he safe? Is he able to react to situations? Is he giving himself the time to do that? Because the roads here are hectic, you know, it is different to a lot of other places on earth.
Crazy. And what I do like is what you do is you implement a little bit of the military side of things. So what I mean by that, if people don't, I'm not sure when they're watching this, in the military, you would do a handover. You do a first parade in the morning, check the vehicle, make sure the tyres are at the right, you know, I've got enough air in there. There's any scratches, damages. It's been, first parade, basically oil, all that sort of stuff and that. So they're at the basic required level to be able to go out on the road. And also the drivers have certain hours a day so they know when to rest and things like this. And it's kind of like, it's like a timesheet, so to speak. It's signed over, stuff like that. So that's really, that's what we do in the military, and that's what you guys have implemented with your drivers as well, which I pretty much can probably say, you know, and I'm sure there are no other companies out here do that. You probably never don't even know what I'm talking about when I say that. Do you know what I mean? But that's what you bring in, which is really, really professional and good.
We see it a lot in the recruitment process without kind of mentioning other businesses, but we will meet people and some of the stories that they will tell us will be quite alarming. First thing we do when they sit across the table from us is to check their driving license, and had a couple of situations where the driving license is expired. And I'm not talking a couple of days or a couple of weeks. You're talking, last year or whatever. And you say, but you're actively in a driving role. Yeah, ma'am, no one checked. You go, okay, all right, sure. Well, we check. So that's going to need to be sorted out. And I think one of the big things about our team and about the way that we conduct ourselves is we try to instill a level of pride in the drivers. So like you said about the last parade, the first parade, and about actually the recruitment process, they feel that they've been through a process.
Yeah.
It's not just, I've got a driving license, give me a job. So they know that they've kind of had to work to get to us. And they know that we're doing regular checks and regular screening. So there's less temptation to become complacent or to get a bit kind of cocky and feel that, oh, it's fine if my standards slip. It doesn't matter because no one's watching. People are watching.
Always
I've got
watching.
eyes in it
Yeah,
everywhere.
definitely.
I've always got my friends mystery shopping. My
Really?
nanny is a great source of feedback. So
Wow, that's
yeah, we've
brilliant.
always got people kind of making sure that the business is upholding its standards, basically.
And one thing I do love is on the social media side of things, I always see it on Instagram, especially on Instagram. You've got your drivers doing, little things like sort of like silly things and that, but like introducing about themselves. And it's good because you've kind of like created that sort of like a family sort of like business, which I think you probably wanted to achieve anyway. And that's really good because if they know, like you say, they've been through a rigorous like procedure, they've earned their role to
No,
be a
yeah.
driver, but they're also part of the family sort of thing. So the trust and you treat them the way that you would like to be treated, and that's really important in a business. Doesn't matter what sort of line of business that you're running.
Yeah, for sure. I think loyalty is a big thing for us, and we see it coming back to us. So a great example, a few weeks back is we actually send our drivers home on vacation every year, which is largely unheard of in this market. Tends to be every 2 years, if at all. So we are big on that. They've all got families back home. They want to see their kids. They want to refresh and recharge. Sent a guy back to Pakistan for his month vacation. He came back to Dubai, and there's been some changes here, and I'm not qualified to comment on it, but there's been some changes here to kind of rental contracts and shared housing. So they've been doing different inspections and things across the city, and our guy happened to be in a place that was then boarded up. So he was in a shared villa, came home, imagine, lands from his flight, just had the time of his life with his family, lands home late at night from his flight. Ride skipper goes to get him, brings him to his home, and is boarded up. He doesn't know whether his stuff is still inside or not. The first thing he said to the team leader who dropped him home was, okay, I need to be with this client at this time tomorrow.
Wow.
And how will I iron my shirts if I can't get in? I had a plan of how I'm going to be
Yeah.
prepared for my shift tomorrow. And that honestly blew my mind because it showed to me that the culture that we've been able to create means they actually care. In many other circumstances, that would have been a great excuse not to show up to work the next day.
100%.
So what did we do? We found him some accommodation for a couple of nights just to, the guy needs to get his head down and rest and then have time to find something else. So we organised some accommodation for him, obviously had some new shirts delivered to him within the hour, all sorted. He's happy, we're happy, the client doesn't miss out. It's a long-term, regular school run client. So changing the driver at 10 p.m. the night before is really not ideal. So again, it's kind of this full circle where by keeping the drivers happy and feeling that they're part of a team, we breed loyalty and they actually care about their jobs. and the customer gets an elevated experience because she's not hearing from me at 10 o'clock at night saying,
No, that's it.
sorry, I'm changing your guy for tomorrow. Our regular school run drivers are even listed as safe pickups for the kids. So it's not as simple as, Stuart will go in Ali's place. It's not that simple. So we need that loyalty from them, and we need that level of care and commitment. And it was really nice to see it play out. Obviously horrible circumstance, but nice to see it play out in
And I
the
take it now he's completely sorted
He's
and
all
that
set. Yeah,
he's
it's all
settled back
good.
to and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's brilliant. That's a really nice story, that is, to be fair. And like you say, it works both ways, doesn't it? So you can trust your people that work for you. So you've pretty much nailed the buy now. Or or is that too early?
Still
You're
having
there.
a demand supply challenge. So there's a huge amount of demand in the market.
Yeah.
Which is why we're looking to scale it quickly, because I could double the number of drivers tomorrow and still face issues where I can't take everyone's kids to school, So it's a good problem to have as a new business, and we don't take it for granted. But yeah, definitely needing to scale up in Dubai for sure.
So what would you say your timeline is then? Obviously, I know you're going to spread out to the Emirates and you're thinking about Abu Dhabi already. So when do you feel like the right time is for you, or you're not quite sure yet when you're going to kind of like spread your wings to another
Yeah,
Emirate,
I'm
would you
not
say?
sure. What we don't want to do, which I think a lot of businesses do, is scale too quickly or grow too quickly and risk that the quality is impacted. And also Abu Dhabi is quite spread out as an emirate versus Dubai. So my worry is that if I just launch with 4 or 5 drivers there, I'm not going to touch the sides, right? I have to do it with a proper team. So it needs to be, until we hire 20 in one shot in Abu Dhabi,
Yeah.
it's not the right call, I think. So that's kind of what we've been looking at recently is, okay, how do we do this and make sure that we're not just saying we're there for the sake of it, but we can actually meet the needs
Yeah.
of the customers there.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good way, that is, of thinking, to be fair, because yeah, like you say, probably even 20, you wouldn't even touch the size, would you, with Abu Dhabi either? And I never thought about it, actually. Abu Dhabi is really spread out, and I suppose maybe it could be like Dubai, and you could slowly creep up to Abu Dhabi. You've got Dubai, you've got obviously Al Reef 1, Al Reef 2, Yas Island, which is very, very popular, and then Dubai, so you've kind of like, you kind of like crawling there, or, sort of thing, like, which is good. There's a question, and I don't even know the answer to this, and I've thought about it earlier. Why ride skipper? What made you think of the word ride skipper?
Uh,
You've probably been asked this loads of times. I'm
Yeah,
not
so
sure.
I liked the idea of having, do you know how Kareem has captains and Deliveroo has riders? I like this idea of having, what is it? It's not just a driver. Like, what does this guy do? And a skipper is in charge of a yacht, and
Yes.
he knows what he's doing. He knows everything about that boat, and he's in charge. And you feel a sense of, I'm on this boat and I'm safe because the skipper's in charge. Great. And then we looked up, obviously, obviously or not, I don't speak Arabic, and my biggest fear was you might choose a word that's really cool in English and then it means something terrible in Arabic. So how do we check? And when we Googled it, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation for sure, but my son's name is Ruben, and the word for skipper in Arabic is something similar to Ruben.
Okay.
It's not exactly the same, but it's very similar. So we were like, it's meant to be. So Ride Skipper was born.
And it's very, I'd like to say, it's slight mission transition. It's quite easy off the tongue,
Yeah.
and it's very easy, and you've got a very the app that you've got, the picture, it's quite attractive, it's quite nice on the eye, sort of thing. Like these little things, that's what you want. You want to be slightly different to everybody else. And obviously it works. And
And I think a big part of branding for us was around the accessibility angle, because we don't position ourselves as a luxury service. It's more, again, about filling a need for convenience. And so we weren't looking to give the impression that we're at a luxury chauffeur hat and
yeah,
those high kind of vibes. And one of the big things that we're looking to do over the next few months is around road safety in schools and partnering with schools as well. And we just felt that the kangaroo is quite an approachable, kind of interesting animal for the little kids to get on board with. So there's lots of work behind the scenes at the moment about how do we bring the kangaroo to life, and what accent should he have, and all this kind
it's got to
of
be
stuff.
Australian, isn't it? If it's
Well, I don't know. You see, people often say to me, "Are you Australian?" or until they hear me speak. So I was thinking, actually, he probably needs to sound like me, so that there's less confusion around why is there a kangaroo on there. But
Bless you.
yeah, details.
So, yeah, details, yeah. So 18 months has been established,
Yeah.
Ride Skipper.
Yeah.
where do you see in the next 18 months then? Where would you want to be so that you can look back on this, in 18 months' time and go, oh, actually, I was right there, or I've exceeded my expectation.
Yeah, I think so. We've kind of said that we'd like to get to 100 drivers in Dubai.
Yeah.
That would give us a better shot at being with you faster. So I'll which is incredible to say that in the last 18 months, we've seen a lot of repeat business and we do have kind of a loyal customer base, which is amazing.
I'm one of them.
But exactly. But people in Dubai are impatient, myself included. And so if you've never used us before and I tell you, or the app tells you we need half an hour to reach you, and someone else can get there in 7 or 8 minutes, and you don't know that we're better yet because you haven't tried us, that is probably a bit of a gap for us in our model and in our current size and the positioning that we have in the market. So we're at 32. I'd like to be at 100 as soon as possible, but it's always with the caveat of we're not just going to hire anyone. The
No, this is
standards
it.
have to be kept. So
And if people want to use Wideskipper's facilities, where do they find it? Here
you
we
can
go.
WhatsApp us. We can put a little link, and you can also download our app. So the app is up and running. It's live, ready to go, and people can book a journey on the app.
And the website as well. Obviously, you've got your
Yeah,
own
you
website,
can't book on there, but it will redirect you to the app or the WhatsApp.
but it'll tell you a bit more
Yeah,
information. and
exactly.
everything.
It'll tell you all about us.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, this is brilliant. Like I say, I'm living proof that we use Wideskip all the time. My wife Louise uses it. Athena does, which is obviously how we met ourselves, and we've done a bit of business together as well, which is good. And but listen, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I'm sure people have probably recognised you now because you've been on Dubai 92, no, Dubai Eye, sorry, and your papers and everything. So yeah, we see you everywhere now. But listen, thank you so much for coming on, and it's been a pleasure. And thank you. And I'm sure we'll do this again soon. And that,
For
if
sure.
you're happy with
Oh,
that.
good. Yeah, brilliant.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Listen, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Like I say, I can vouch for Lauren. Wideskip is a fantastic business. It's very unique here in Dubai. It's going to spread to the UAE, across the 7 Emirates. So yeah, have a look. If you're not sure or you forgot, then find me on Mission Transition as well, and I can give you the details as well. But thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. This will be on YouTube in the next 2 weeks' time, and also we'll be putting it up on LinkedIn as well. So we'll look forward to the next one, which will be next month. So stay tuned and look after yourselves. Remember, strengthen Lexi, strengthen us. Thank you.